Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this hybrid meeting of the Family Education and Justice Committee. I'd like to remind all attendees that this meeting is being recorded and webcast live on the Council's YouTube channel. I've agreed the attendance of some members remotely and would remind all remote attendees to mute their microphones when not speaking. And for any members of the public watching, please note that all the public committee reports, including details of specific recommendations, are available on the Council's website. Do we have any apologies or substitutions?
Thank you, Convener. We have apologies from Councillor Boyd, Councillor Gall with Councillor Meakin substituting, Councillor Nicholl with Councillor Gregg substituting, and Councillor Wan with Councillor McLaren substituting.
Thank you. Are there any declarations of interest or statements of transparency? Nope. Okay, that's great. So the first item is around the minutes from the last meeting. Are they agreed? Agreed. And also for noting is minutes from the staffing subcommittee minutes. Are those agreed? Agreed. Noted. Sorry, noted. Thank you. So the first item is the Angus School inspection reports. Before we go into this, I just wanted to thank all of the three head teachers for the attendance at the committee today, and a special thanks to Jane McLean, as I know Langlands Primary School have recently experienced the tragic loss of a P7 pupil. So I just wanted to express the thoughts of everyone in the chamber today are with the family, staff and children at this time. And I'm just going to hand over to Neil for this report.
Thank you, Convener. Agenda item 4 asks members to consider the very positive inspection reports for Langlands, for Whitehills and for Airlie Primary School. All three reports were published by His Majesty's Inspectorate for Education before the end of last term. A summary of each report in Appendix 1 lists both the strengths and areas for improvement identified by each inspection team. Convener, I'm delighted with the reports, and we've been joined today, as you said, by Jane McLean, Head Teacher of Langlands, Corinne Peters, Head Teacher of Whitehills, and Paul Kinney, the Head Teacher of Airlie, all of whom will be happy to take any questions and comments from members.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Councillor Devine.
Thank you very much, Convener. Addressing myself to Langlands and Mr McLean here, it was an absolute pleasure to meet some of your young leaders when I was in the school not that long ago. I mean, they were so confident in telling us about their remit in the school and what they were doing throughout the school. It was an absolute credit to you. I know this happens in all schools, but it was really nice to have that opportunity, so thank you. This is a super report. I'm particularly pleased to see what you're doing around the enjoyment of reading being fostered, and especially today, because I think it was just yesterday, the Queen Consort started up the National Year of Reading with Ian Rankin involved. So that's it's great that this is going on, and I just wondered how you overcome the difficulties, because there are many with screen work of children at the moment. That would be great to know.
Thank you, Councillor Devine, for your question. Reading at Langlands is obviously a huge priority for all our learners. We very much have a focus through our Reading Council, where we have young people who lead reading across the school, and we've been working towards our Reading Schools Award, which they have achieved at the end of last session. As far as reading within school and with the different classes, the children have opportunities to read for enjoyment, and we have a lovely library system that's set up where they all have opportunities to go and choose different texts and be able to speak to their class teachers about it, and also take them home and share their texts and things with their families as well. As they move through school, there's all opportunities for them to experience reading, obviously individually, but also within group situations where they're really developing skills for learning life and work through the reading work that they do also within school.
Thank you. And next, Councillor Gregg.
Thank you, Convener. I think I just want to see how good it was to see all the glowing reports from all three schools, but specifically a question for Langlands. Looking through the report, I noticed that you successfully developed an inclusive ethos within the school. So could you maybe give us a bit more of an explanation as to how you've achieved that across the school? Because I'm also aware that Langlands is a specifically resource school, so maybe just a little detail on that would be lovely. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor, for your question. Yes, Langlands is the specifically resource school in Forfar, and currently we have 35% of our children with additional support needs. As well as that, we have 14% of our children who are placed through the ASN projections process. And I would say, as head teacher, I'm absolutely passionate about making sure that all children are included at all times within our school. I want children to feel part of the school community. I want them to have opportunities to participate in a wide range of high quality learning opportunities. And also I want them to make sure that they have the right support at the right time to make sure that they can achieve the best they possibly can. When I started at Langlands, we looked at creating a school vision where the whole school community was involved in that, and that allowed us to have that sort of shared language that the whole school community uses with the children. Our vision is we want all children to shine, and that is be successful, happy, included, nurtured, and encouraged to achieve. And because we have that same and that shared language, it's very much part of everything that we do within school. The other thing that we looked at was creating an inclusive environment, and we used the Circle framework, and teaching staff and non-teaching staff work together really closely, and they reflect on the framework and they sort of make adaptations depending on the needs of the children within school. As a leadership team, we talk a lot about our staff in the school, and I think one thing that I always say to our staff is every single one of them is valued and a valued member of staff, because without the staff and without the team, we couldn't do what we do. So we've looked at upskilling staff through training opportunities, through with the ASN locality team and the specialist team to make sure they have the skills and the knowledge to be able to support our learners within school. And I would also say our curriculum, we look to have a very inclusive curriculum. So inclusion is one of our main drivers in our curriculum, as well as looking at pupil voice. And that's something that we have really looked to increase opportunities for children to really feel empowered and take ownership of their learning through that. And the other thing to really think about inclusion is the suite of interventions that we have on offer. The Langlands motto is very much no child misses out, and we go above and beyond to make sure the children have the right support at the right time. And we use our data from pupil tracking to be able to identify those that maybe don't have opportunities for example, wider achievements, and we then look and plan to what support and things that we're going to put into place. I would say I'm very proud of our Langlands team and all that we have achieved together. I'm also very proud of our children who, when the inspection team were in, were very articulate, were confident, and they very much got over to the inspection team how proud they are of their school. So that was something that was a joy. Our successes, though, are also a big thanks to the support that we've received from my service leader, Audrey, and the wider ASN teams, and also the Angus Education Improvement Service, who have provided advice, support and training opportunities to the Langlands team. So a big thank you to them all.
Thank you. Councillor Proctor.
Thank you very much, Convener. I have a question on White Hills. And a further question on Airlie, if I'm permitted. First of all, on White Hills, I see that the approaches to Gaelic are rightly highlighted, and there is a key strength. And you see how it's been sort of used within the report, but how is that shared through the rest of the school community?
Thank you for your question, Councillor. That's okay. We're proud that our approaches to Gaelic medium education are highlighted as one of the key strengths in our recent inspection, and we have integrated Gaelic throughout our school community in the following ways. We're extremely fortunate to have a highly skilled practitioner that is passionate about Gaelic language, education and culture, and she uses song and drama to motivate children, and children love learning in our Gaelic classroom. This motivation has rippled through the school and it's encouraged other children to explore Gaelic. Gaelic language has become our L3 for language for primary 5 to 7. So L3 is the second additional language that pupils are entitled to learn as part of the 1+2 languages policy. And in primary 1 to 4, children are taught key phrases to use, such as greetings. Children in our Gaelic class regularly visit primary 1 to 7 classes, actively teaching Gaelic phrases and language. And that not only builds skills for learning life and work, but it also promotes Gaelic inclusion across the school. Gaelic is now integrated into our school ethos and environment with dual language, vision, values and aims and signage across the school. We're also increasing Gaelic language in displays. A key emphasis is placed on Gaelic language within our nursery, and that's to foster an early interest and highlight the benefits of learning a second language. We're also very fortunate to have an early years practitioner in our nursery that's a native Gaelic speaker. And our Gaelic teacher and class visit our nursery weekly to lead Gaelic song sessions and Gaelic rhyme sessions. These activities not only help encourage children in our Gaelic medium unit to practice their skills, but they also encourage enthusiasm for Gaelic education, which is supporting steady enrolment numbers. We promote Gaelic learning with our parent community and wider local community in a variety of ways too. Our Dojo digital communication system is used effectively to share regular updates regarding Gaelic learning and to promote opportunities for learning Gaelic within our community. World Gaelic Week is celebrated annually throughout the entire school, with our GMU class taking a leading role in organising events such as the whole school assembly and visiting classes to deliver Gaelic sessions. This is documented through a whole school-wide display, and that's available for visitors when they visit school. Whole school community events are used as well to showcase and celebrate Gaelic song and drama, for example through church services, our end of term celebrations, concerts and our recent summer ice cream walking trail. We organise a transition community learning cafe as well for parents of nursery and primary 1 pupils, and at this event our Gaelic teacher and GMU class deliver an input on what it's like to be a learner in our GMU class. Prospective parents can ask questions and they can also visit our Gaelic classroom. Our Gaelic choir performs at community events to promote Gaelic, such as the recent Light of Life service at Lippin Care at Whitehills Hospital. This was very well received by patients and visitors, and this intergenerational learning experience not only supported positive wellbeing for all involved, but also enhanced community connection. Our next steps include expanding partnerships to increase Gaelic fluency, improving consistency and delivery of L3, and introducing a pupil Gaelic leadership group to support us to further increase visibility of Gaelic at Whitehills.
Thank you very much for that very comprehensive answer. And although the lingua franca in Forfar and Angus, of course, has been broad Scots for hundreds of years, it's actually great to see Gaelic taken off in your school. And, you know, perhaps in the future when we'll be having a mod in Whitehills is really great. And congratulations to you and your staff. Thank you very much for your answer. And I would just, on Airlie, which is in my ward, I just think that the key strength of your school is the strong leadership culture that you've created with your staff. And how do you plan to develop that and involve parents and you know, others to improve in the school? Have you got a sort of a plan for that?
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, currently we've got a number of things that we're doing to embed the kind of involvement of all kind of stakeholders, particularly parents and families, in the work that we do. Our shared vision, values, and aims in the school were created collaboratively with everyone involved, and I believe that they truly reflect the kind of the shared views that we all have and the aspirations to do the best we can for the children at the school. We talk regularly about our school improvement priorities already, and we provide updates throughout the year through parent council meetings. We quite often have key questions that we ask families to engage with when it comes to things like parents' evening or events in the school, so that we're getting that constant feedback. We hold drop-in sessions currently as well, where we encourage parents to come in and find out a little bit more about the curriculum. So, for example, we've looked at homework as a policy, and we've looked at reading and how we're going to take forward ideas like our Reading School Award that we've managed to successfully gain as well. And like I said, we ask for feedback throughout the year through surveys and various other measures to get feedback, and also to allow people who can't maybe attend parent council meetings and things to be able to have an opportunity to share their views. We are incredibly lucky to have such a supportive parent council and parent body in the school to support us, and that's allowed us the opportunity to really have a platform to take further ideas forward. So the things that we've already begun to take forward as our next steps, we've chosen collaboratively again health and wellbeing curriculum as an area that parents and families would like to work on to help us develop. That was a working party focus for our staff group last year, and this year, as we've opened it up, we've had one workshop so far for parents to come along to, and we've got another one scheduled just in a couple of weeks, and that's been really interesting because it's allowed parents to explore the curriculum pathways that we use, to look at the experiences and outcomes, and really get a flavour of what health and wellbeing looks like in the classroom at all the different stages, right from nursery right through to primary 7. So what we've kind of gathered from that, we've taken forward the main areas of interest to parents are around relationships, emotional regulation, the impact of our technology and social media is a huge factor within that, but also how that impacts kind of mental health as well with children. And what we're planning to do with that is at the next workshop, we're going to unpick that a little bit more and just look at how that's taught and delivered and reflected through our curriculum right through the school. We also plan to collaboratively organise a health week later in term 4, where we get to bring some of our ideas together and again share some of the expertise that our families have and also connections that they have to bring people in, just to allow our children to have the best opportunities that they can. The other thing that we're currently doing as well is we are planning a collaborative whole school learning context for this term. So we've asked parents to be involved with the planning of our topic, our interdisciplinary learning context for this term, which we've decided on the topic of fashion, which maybe it sounds like an interesting one, but what we've done is we've had an initial we've had 2 planning meetings together, again sharing our social studies outcomes and the other areas of the curriculum that link into that with families, and we've been able to talk about how we're able to link in sustainability goals, global issues, and how we're going to develop skills and opportunities for children to research and acquire different skills that they're wanting to develop. Writing is also a key part of what's incorporated into that area of our curriculum. So parents have opportunities to come in, share knowledge and skills. We've talked about things like sewing, stitching, and some of our parents have talked about how they're interested in designing and how they would promote different fashion ideas. And we've introduced this to the children as well, and we've gathered their views. So there's a very much a collaborative approach to how we've planned this term. And the final showcase for that is going to be an opportunity for a whole school fashion show at the end of the term. Which you'd be very welcome to come along and see. And again, we've talked about elements like maybe introducing a Scottish theme to that, or maybe an eco-friendly factor into it as well, where recycled outfits, things can be shared. So again, very much a collaboration. We're also planning to hold a curriculum evening later on in the year, probably at the beginning of term 4, where again teachers and children are going to showcase areas of the curriculum, just to allow families to have an opportunity to see how things are delivered in the classroom and to see how children engage with that. And we'll also have another opportunity to look a little bit more deeply at how we're co-constructing school improvement outcomes later in the session as well, just to make sure that they're fully involved in that process too.
Thanks very much again. Long may it continue. And I will take you up on your invitation. I'm sure the fellow council ward members will probably want to come with me. Thank you.
Thank you. There's quite a few dates for people's diaries there, I think, as well. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I think I want to put in a placing request to repeat primaries 1 to 7 at the Gaelic Medium Unit. It sounds fantastic. My question was particularly for Airlie, because you're in my ward, and I know how important books are in both your schools, Paul. But the outdoor education part of it, the outdoor growing connection with the land. I see very much as a protective factor in terms of some of the challenges you've touched on around IT and mental health. And is that a concept that the parents in your school are on board with? And do you see them getting involved in that outdoor element of what you're doing at the school? Because I just think it's so important that in terms of our digital health, that our connection to the outdoors is built on for future generations, and it's a big worry with what we're seeing in terms of mental health across the whole nation, really. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor. Yes, outdoor learning is a huge part of what we're all about at Airlie. We very much value and cherish the outdoor spaces that we have, and the children, as well as the staff and the families, they're very much aware that we're very fortunate with the facilities that we have. Over the years that I've been at Airlie, we've really done a lot of work in the outdoor spaces, and that's been done collaboratively with partners and also with the children very much involved. I'll give you an example. We have a giant tree at the back of the playground, which unfortunately was taken down by one of the storms a few years ago, and that caused a great upset for the children from the point of view of wildlife and the fact that they enjoyed playing around that area. So rather than it being focused as a negative, we tried to flip that round, and we asked them what they would like to do with the space to maximise, again, the learning potential, but also a space that they can use throughout the year. So we used one of our partner groups, and all the children in the school were able to contribute to the installation of a lovely pond and wildlife conservation area at the back of the playground. So again, that's created a huge opportunity for science, for lots of different learning opportunities, writing as well, and parents are very much involved in that too. They very much value the spaces that we have, and you mentioned planting and growing as well. That's become a fundamental part of our curriculum as well, and our parents are very much on board with that. They contribute financially to be able to support us with that through fundraising events. They've provided some of the lantern boxes, and I think the polytunnel previously have been provided to us, again through collaboration, to be able to provide lovely spaces for children to go and experience the outdoors and to grow produce as well. That again connects into our health and wellbeing curriculum, because we've been able to use a lot of the produce that we've we've planted to be able to use in cooking lessons. And we've also recently installed a community larder in the car park area, which the hope is this year, once we've grown things, that we'll be able to actually share the excess, but also some of the things with families to take home. We've got ideas like soup bags, vegetables, fruit, things like that we can share, and again that just creates that connection with home, so learning in school can be transferred to be able to share that out with as well.
Thank you very much. And I just wonder if you could all take our congratulations back to your schools. Yes. I just think it's so lovely to hear the enthusiasm and the commitment, and I know the pupils will have contributed to those inspection reports hugely, so it'd be good to get that feedback back to them. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Is that a question? Yeah.
Thanks, and thanks to all three of you. It's really nice to hear about the positive reports, and also the focus on outdoor learning, reading and Gaelic language. It's all really, really positive. I just wondered, you've given really comprehensive answers so far, but I just wondered if there was anything else you wanted to highlight from your schools that hasn't been asked about. Like I say, you did give really comprehensive answers. It's been really interesting.
Councillor Devine, did you want to come in?
Yeah, I was just wondering, maybe Corinne could tell us a little bit more about the food aspect, because at the very end of the report, other relevant evidence, there seems to have been quite a lot of work going on in the school around food. And was that about growing and using the food in school, or was it about looking at maybe local places that you might be able to get food to use in school? It's just an interest of mine, local food.
Thank you for your question. We had, as part of our inspection, a food and nutrition inspection. So they looked at areas such as school dining hall, how that was being used, how we were supporting children and encouraging them to follow a healthy diet, how we were promoting that through our curriculum, what learning the children were taking forward in classes. They also looked at an intervention that we've set up, which is baking, to teach life skills, but we're also using it to try and increase attendance in school for certain individuals. So they were really interested to find out about how that was operating and the impact that that was having. They also spoke to children directly about the dinner hall experience and what that was like and any improvements we could make. And something else we're looking to work on is tackling food waste. We have an awful lot of food waste from school lunches at the moment. So we're working with our Wellbeing Champions group to work out how to try and reduce that.
That's great. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Councillor Speed.
Yep, thank you. Yeah, thanks for this morning and for your presentations. Well done on achieving such good results. It really has been encouraging this morning to hear from you. And I think what you've done is brought to life what the good stuff that goes on day in, day out within Angus Council and within education that is not always picked up and highlighted, especially in terms of the inclusion, the values that you share, the works that are going on, whether that be in terms of the Gaelic language or outdoor learning. A lot of what you've discussed today is really heartwarming, but I guess we all know that there are huge challenges within education, and I guess my question would be, without putting a kind of dampener on the morning, but in all reality, what do you foresee as being your biggest challenges moving forward because of the ongoing pressures within the system? I hope that.
Thank you for your question. I was just going to talk from the White Hills context to say that something that we have noticed becoming more and more of a challenge for us is attendance at school. And I think that's probably following COVID and trying to break down anxiety. We've got a lot of children that it's difficult to get over the thresholds sometimes. So we've tried to use our PEF funding to support that with the baking groups that I spoke about. And we've also managed to get some sports interventions in place. We are seeing an increase in attendance, but for us, I would say that's one of the biggest factors. We're also finding that families taking family holidays more and more within school time is creating a bit of a gap for us just now in terms of attainment and attendance. So that's probably the biggest factor for us that we're.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Councillor Speed, for your question. I would say at Langlands, it's the challenge is sort of dealing with the increasing need that's coming into school. Already we have 35% of our children with an identified need. But there's, every year there's more and more children coming into school, and it's being able to ensure we're doing the best that we possibly can for all the children that are in school. We do have a suite of interventions, and we very much work with our staff team to make sure the children are getting the right support at the right time. But it is a worry with the increase in numbers that are coming into the system. One of the things that we have got is we have one of our people leadership groups are our inclusion inspirers, and they are very much part of talking to teaching staff. They talk to the children about, how do they feel in Langlands? Do they feel included? Do they feel part of things? And, we very much take on board their ideas and sort of take things forward. Last session, they did a big work on equity and looking at how we can, reduce equity within school. And they have, worked hard to create a food bank for our families. They've also looked at just signposting, to families and things. They create sort of posters and little brochures that we can share on our communication platform, so families are aware of the support that's out there. And it is about trying to just work with the children and the families and understanding, the need that's in our school community and try and support that the best that we can as well. So.
And if I could just add, because Jane is too modest, but the inspectors did highlight that inclusion at Langlands was practice that was worth sharing more widely.
Thank you, Audrey.
A quick one.
Yeah, just kind of following that. is encouraging in terms of that vision and the work that goes on in terms of inclusion. We do know that in society there is still a lot of negative kind of views towards people with an additional support need towards disability. I just wondered if that ever features, is that ever a problem, and how do you go about kind of addressing that? And I guess I'm not just thinking within the school in terms of young people who are often quite accepting. I'm thinking perhaps more, adults, parent carers, others connected to the school that might not view disability in the light that we would all hope.
Thank you, Councillor. I would say that within Langlands we regularly have whole school assemblies where we're very much celebrating diversity, celebrating inclusion, celebrating all the differences, and that's a real strength, I would say, within school. The children value everyone and very much celebrate all the differences, and it's something that we talk about as a school a lot. And I would say that's something that I try to filter through newsletters and things, and we have sort of celebratory days to celebrate differences, and it's certainly something that we look to try to build on every year as well, just to try to get that message out there as well.
Okay, thank you everyone. I think if that all the questions asked, it's been brilliant to hear more from all of you, and to hear more in depth about what goes on behind the reports that we see as well. So thank you all very much for that, and thank you everyone for your questions. Did anyone have any comments? Sorry, Councillor Speed.
Yeah, just very quickly to say thank you very much for your responses, and picking up on what the challenges may be along the way and in front of us. So thanks for that, and it was really encouraging again just to hear around how you do promote those inclusive values within your school. Well done.
Yeah, thank you. And just to draw that to a close, to reiterate the thanks and to take back the positive comments that have been made today about all the work that's going on, and well done on the inspection reports that we've got. So thank you all very much. Thank you. Our task is to consider, our recommendations are to consider the areas of strength, consider the areas for improvement, and consider the evaluation of quality indicators for each school, and consider the expression of confidence in each school's capacity to improve. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you all very much. The next item on the agenda is the summary of care inspectorate inspection of Logan Cottage, and I think Kirsty Lee is going to introduce the report.
Good afternoon and thank you, Convener. This report today relates to an unannounced inspection of Logan Cottage, which is part of our internal residential provision for children with a capacity for 4 children or young people to be cared for. The inspection report concludes with a grade of 5, which is very good. It is clear from the report our staff are working hard to keep the promise, to create a homely environment where young people feel safe, where relationships are promoted and supported, and restrictive practice is kept to a minimum. I credit our staff and leadership for this positive report. Residential childcare continues to be an incredibly difficult area to work in, where we need our staff to bring their whole self to work, to behave like parents yet professionals, to offer love and care yet keep professional boundaries, and enable young people to take risks but to be safe. This report recognises the skill of the team in achieving a good balance for our young people. Our service manager, Claire Dixon, and our service leader, Peter McDonnell, are with us today, and we're happy to respond to questions or comments on the report. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Councillor Devine? Sorry, Belle.
I was confused there. Thank you very much for this excellent report. My connections with our residential care predate my election as a councillor, and it's a service that I'm really fond of and regard as hugely important. And you really covered the challenges very well, Kirsty. It is very difficult walking those fine lines for staff, and I just wondered in terms of attracting newly qualified practitioners, for example, what sort of turnover we have of staff, if staff come into it very early in their career. There might need to be additional support, I think, put in to keep staff there for longer, because I could see that it would be emotionally quite challenging quite a lot of the time, and it's such a valuable part of what we do, and it's so important to the young people that we have in the service, that they have continuity and they have built good relationships. So it's very important. It would be just helpful to get an idea of what you do to keep staff there.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a really good question, and I'll ask Claire to come in with a bit more detail. But you'll see from the report that it comments on the trauma responsive, the culture that's been built in the service. But that's why I say in my introduction that, a 5 of very good. It's great to get those outcomes for our young people, but that's not to underestimate the impact that it has on our staff in what is, as I say, incredibly difficult area of work. It's something that we are very aware of because it impacts on children significantly. If you can imagine living at home with a number of different people who are delivering care for you, some of them known to you and have been around for a long time, you have good relationships with, but some not. And we do rely on agency staff. We still rely on agency staff. Claire and the team have been very good at developing relationships with particular agencies, so we have some continuity of care. But the vacancies are stubborn and persistent across Scotland, really, in residential childcare because of the challenges. We have done a huge amount of work locally on attracting new people into the profession, but also it's about retaining people that have worked for us for a long time and experience burnout. So, Claire, I'll ask you maybe to comment on some of the developments in the service over the last couple of years and what we are continuing to do. But thank you, it's a good point to raise.
Thank you. In relation to Logan in particular, there's not been a huge amount of staff turnover, which, to be honest, is quite incredible given the amount of culture change that has happened. That's quite unique, to be honest. As part of that, I think as a leadership team, that's about the approach that we've taken in terms of the degree of understanding and empathy around the role that our staff carry and what that means for their own families when they go home, what that means for them as people. So really understanding that people, like Kirsty said in the introduction, we're asking staff to bring their whole self, and we're recognising that they're doing that. In order to do, I suppose, support them, we've been really clear in terms of supervision is regular, support out with supervision, so it's not just a monthly thing, it's supports throughout the whole time. During tricky parts, on-call managers are on the phone at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning supporting staff through really difficult situations. We've invested quite heavily in training around therapeutic approaches. For us as leaders, that is about how we support our staff therapeutically as well. That also helps in staff retention, helps them to understand and feel confident in what they're doing. One of the most significant investments that we've made is in relation to an external clinical psychologist who comes in and meets with the team on a monthly basis, and really affords them the opportunity as a team to come together and talk through any challenges that they've got. And it could be anything from what approach are we taking around this particular young person and their meals, to how are we working together as a team around the differences in parenting styles and approaches. It's very much open to the team for what they need at any given point. So it's very much multifaceted, but we're trying to really look at things with a human perspective, and I do think that has had an impact in terms of Logan's retention of staff.
Thank you. Have we got any further questions? Sorry, Councillor Speed.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my question was actually going to be around the use of agency, but Kirsty picked that up when she was discussing there. So I guess my other question, and it kind of follows on from the concerns that were raised in the last agenda item around attendance at school, and I just wondered whether is that something that is experienced as a bit of a further pressure in terms of staffing if more children throughout the school day are having to be kind of supported within the house as opposed to the education setting, and kind of what work goes on between kind of education and social work in terms of trying to get the best outcomes for those young people?
We've very much approached that on an individual basis around children. So it very much depends on what their needs are in terms of their care and also what their needs are in terms of their education. So it's very much dependent on each individual child. A lot of that is based on an awful lot of hard work, to be honest. What is right for this child at the moment? How do we work around that? What can we offer? What can education colleagues offer? And how do we come together in the middle? And what is right for that young person may change from week to week, from day to day. And it's actually just having the confidence to kind of go with that a little bit and the freedom to do that. And certainly staff have got that.
Okay, thank you. That all for the questions. Checking online, I can't quite see down the bottom. Yep, move on to comments. Do you want to comment? Yep, Councillor Proctor.
Thanks very much, Convener. I'd just like to congratulate the team on this excellent report. I think you've all done very, very well. And I really do feel that probably the end sort of sentence, paragraph 7.1 on page 26 of the paper really sums it up and how what your aims are and what you've achieved. When it says children and young people are safe, feel loved, and get the best and most out of life. And I do feel, you know, you've achieved every aim, and that's a great accolade and well done. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Speed, do you have a comment?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just also would like to add to that in terms of just what an achievement that is to get those results when you really are operating within a landscape that is really challenged. So yeah, I can't really say any more than that. Then yeah, that is a remarkable achievement. Well done.
Yeah, and echo what has been said already around that. So it's really great to hear from everyone, and please take back the positive comments as well that people have made. So I think that's all for the comments. Then our recommendation, our actions are to do some recommendations, which is to give consideration to the areas of strength identified within the inspection report, and notes the improvement from the previous inspection from March 2024. So thank you all very much. Okay. Agreed. Is that agreed? Agreed. So the next item is item 6, which is the mothballing proposal for Arbella Early Learning and Childcare, and Neil Loudon is going to introduce this report.
Thank you, Convener. Agenda item 6 asks members to approve the formal mothballing of Arbella Early Learning Childcare class in accordance with our mothballing policy. From August 2025, the setting has been inactive in terms of care inspectorate registration. This means that it's been open for applications but without sufficient operationally viable. From 2023 to 2025, a total of 5 applications were received, and in 24-25 the setting was open with only 3 children in attendance. The child who applied this session attends a nearby local authority ELC provision. In rural locations, and I've said this before, there are often fluctuations in population over time. Similar early learning childcare settings have been mothballed in the past due to low numbers of children and then reopened when numbers of children in the community applying make it operationally viable and benefit educationally as well. Rather than formal closure, as you know, mothballing status gives us time to consider and gives members time to consider the applications which are made to the setting and any fluctuations in the population. And if viable and we receive 5 or more, the setting can then be re-registered with the Care Inspectorate. Please note there is a typo in the report detailing the consultation dates, as this should have said 17th to the 28th of November, and for clarity, it is noted that there is no specific community council for Arbella. However, the nearest community council were notified. Finally, Convener, I would also highlight paragraph 5.4, because again, this is a shift. It details a change in national guidance for temporary closures, which came into force after the consultation of this engagement. It would be my view that it does not materially change or impact, but I would just ask members today that we'll be bringing updated guidance to our next Family, Education and Justice Committee in March to reflect that. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'll open for questions. I think Councillor Cruikshanks, you've got a question?
Yeah, thank you very much. Can officers explain the mothballing and reopening process for Aberlit, in particular how the 5 application trigger would allow the setting to reopen, and how this aligns with the standard 8-child threshold in the policy? I would also welcome clarity on how applications are assessed when there are 3 different start dates, confirmation that Aberlit will remain on the Council's list of ELC providers with clear information for parents that it remains available, and whether there is any precedent of a mothballed ELC reopening.
Quite a lot in that question. I have brought Sheena Locke, who is our Senior Early Years Manager. Sheena, if you want to cover some of that off, and I'll tick as you go.
Okay, thank you so much for your question, Councillor Cruikshanks. I'll just take that in little pieces so that I'm sure that I answer each part. First of all, with regards to the reopening numbers, Angus Council mothballing policy states that if settings fall below the threshold of 8 children, they can be considered for mothballing. However, in ELC, we're really keen that children are able to access provision within their locality whenever that's possible. We're also aware, though, of balancing that up with the educational benefits of children attending settings where they have the opportunity to socially interact with others and learn from them. So much learning in ELC is not about adult to child, it's about child to child and how children learn from each other. And so to ensure that children access those educational benefits, although we have run with less than 5 children before, we do believe that is the number at which you do get a mix of children to get that really good learning, and research backs that up too. So we've said that 5 children would be our minimum for any reopening so that it can best meet the children's needs, because that's always what comes first. In terms of how's an application assessed, well, we monitor applications right throughout the year. So if we had a child apply in for August, then 2 applied for October, and then so on through the year, we are looking at that and we're planning to achieve the best outcomes for children. In planning for the August intake each year, we consider how many applications have come in across the year. And this allows time for us to plan to make a setting active or inactive the following session, and also for the school to get back in touch with parents who have applied and say, are you still interested? If this was to become active, would you be interested in your child going to this setting? We've done this in the past. Should 5 applications be received then for 1 intake, we would immediately begin the process of going to Care Inspectorate and ensuring that it was re-registered so that we could make it active for the next term where that's operationally deliverable. Then the next part of your question on information for parents on applications, all mothballed, and you'll see that with Aberlemno at the moment on the website, all mothballed and inactive settings remain on our application forms, so parents can complete application forms for them. And it remains on our list of providers with clear information there about it currently being inactive, but that you can still apply. We're also in the process at the moment of updating our ELC website so that we make this more user-friendly. So that'll be in place for our new parents who are looking to apply from August. So watch this space. Finally, then, in regards to mothballing settings that have reopened in the past, there is a precedent for this in Angus, you'll be pleased to hear. Ochterhouse, when I started in ELC, had then been mothballed and it has been reopened. And likewise, Aberlemno was mothballed, reopened, and now is mothballed again. And I think that just shows how responsive we're being to our rural communities and to the needs of the areas. I hope that answers your question. Thanks much.
Thank you. Councillor Cruikshank, did you want to come back in on that?
Very much for the comprehensive answer there. I do have another question as well. There's an echo there. Okay. Can officers clarify the Council's position on provider neutrality? Can you still hear me? Yeah. Can officers provide clarity on the Council's position on including why the council cannot actively promote Arborlit ELC or write directly to residents, but how families can nonetheless be clearly signposted to access the service through community council and parent-led engagement. In that context, could officers also confirm whether there is any statutory obligation on the council to consult when an ELC is mothballed, and outline the operating cost per child where numbers are between 1 and 5?
Do you want to pick up the first elements and I'll pick up the financial element? Sheena, is that okay?
Of course.
Yeah.
Thank you again, Councillor Cruikshank, for your question. Again, I'll just take that in pieces if that's okay. So first of all, in regards to the promotion of ELC, you'll be aware of the funding follows the child principles of Scottish Government that we all follow in terms of allocating and advertising and to do with all of our admissions of ELC. So the local authority has a duty to be equitable. We are the guarantors of quality. We hold that duty really seriously. And therefore, what we must do is make sure that right across the learning estate, there is sufficient ELC for children to attend. However, we cannot promote one setting over another because that would be putting other settings at a disadvantage, and that wouldn't be fair on our partner providers. However, if parent councils or community councils choose to publicise their own ELC, they're really welcome to, and a number of settings do this. The second part of your question then about consultation, at the moment there isn't a defined process for consulting on mothballing. However, we did undertake consultation. Beth sitting beside me, so if you have more questions about that, she'll follow up, but I'll just give you a wee overview on what you were already sent. The Arborlit engagement followed exactly the same process as Aberlemno. That was a really successful engagement, inviting parents and carers, staff, community council, everybody to provide feedback. The engagement was direct, so there were Microsoft forms sent out, but as there aren't children currently in Arborlit ELC, there wasn't direct communication with that stakeholder group because it doesn't exist. So the parent and carer communications were strongly encouraged parents to circulate this amongst their friends. If they knew in the community that there was a parent who might be interested, please, in the future, get them to complete this. However, we only had one response, and that response was positive towards the mothballing of Arborlit ELC. Neil, you wanted to pick up on finances.
Yeah, Councillor Cruikshank, thank you. I'll just pick up on the finances. In terms of how we staff, and Sheena can come back in if necessary, we have an early years practitioner, an early years assistant, and then in terms of a senior, we ensure high quality early learning childcare by having a 2-day per week senior, an approximate cost of around £75,000, £76,000. So our average spend would be in the region of 12. So for 5 children, we're spending up to 30% above that on 15. But when we hit the number of 3, it's over £25,000 per child within that setting. So in terms of best value and operational deliverability, it does become more challenging.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Bell.
Thank you. Just on that, I mean, there's a disbenefit to the child's educational experience with very low numbers. So it's not just about the financial implications, it's about the quality of education that a child gets. Even at the cut-off points, I would suggest, and to hear a bit more about any feedback you've had about people's experience in smaller units where it's perhaps not worked as well as it might have in a larger setting with increased socialisation. Thanks.
Thanks so much, Councillor Bell. I think we've done lots of research into, is it better to have one-to-one for children? How does this work? And there's been lots of research done on the over-adulting of children. And so if you're thinking of 3 adults in a setting, which we must have to ensure that quality. We can't have a lone worker anymore in ELC. So to cover lunches, to ensure our ratios, statutorily we must have them. However, that child is overstimulated, over-adulted, as well as it being a bit of a waste of the adult's time to be there, because then they are interacting with each other rather than with the child. Whenever you put too many adults in the room, the children stop focusing on each other and having that social interaction. There's also lots of great research about the social interaction and how that plays with children, particularly in our context, having gone through COVID. We see that children who haven't had the opportunity to socially interact then have stronger difficulties in meeting their developmental milestones when it comes to social and emotional behaviours. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Is there any further questions? Any comments that people want to make? Councillor Cruikshanks.
Thank you. I want to place on record my strong support for rural education and for maintaining local early years provision wherever that is sustained, because these settings matter deeply to the life of rural communities. At the same time, as a council, we have a responsibility to be fair to families and to manage limited resources carefully. For me, what matters most is that the process is clear, that families understand how provision remains accessible, and that if demand returns, there is a clear and credible route for Arborlit to reopen.
Thank you. Any further comments? Okay, so the recommendations are for us to note the feedback that's gathered in relation to this proposal, approve the proposal to formally mothball Arborlit ELC for 3 years, up to 3 years, and if the recommendation 2 is approved, to delegate authority to the Director of Education and Lifelong Learning to reopen Arborlit ELC if 5 or more applications are received within an academic session. And if recommendation 2 is approved, request that the Director of Education and Lifelong Learning reviews the decision annually and prepares a report on future options in the event that Arborlit ELC remains mothballed for at least 2 years. I thought it was important to read those out just because of the status of this one. Is that all agreed? Agreed. Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is item 7, Reading and Childcare Family Partnership for eligible 2-year-olds, and Neil Loudon is going to introduce this report.
Yeah, thank you again, Convener. This paper sets out for members a very positive, I hope, and creative proposal to continue to enhance the Angus early learning and childcare offer through the addition of TWOs Together family partnership provision of the Angus ELC delivery plan. It builds on the recent stakeholder engagement. The consultation for me evidenced strong interest across Angus, with parents indicating a high likelihood of attending the session with their child. TWOs Together is an innovative relationship-based model that invites parents and carers to stay, play, and importantly learn alongside their child during funded sessions. This holistic, family-centred approach is designed to strengthen attachment, build confidence in early play and learning, and improve outcomes by working with parents and children together. In light of the positive consultation and for me what are clear benefits this approach offers our children and families in Angus, members are asked to approve the addition of TWOs Together to the ELC delivery plan and delegate authority as is outlined in the report.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Councillor McLaren.
Yes, thank you for that. How do you intend to engage with parents through the TWOs Together provision?
Thanks so much for your question, Councillor. We're really excited to engage with parents through the TWOs Together provision. Our really experienced family nurture support team, we're hoping to have them working on the project. And so they have real expertise in lots of different parenting programmes. However, for this, they're going to assess with the parents who are there and make bespoke learning for them with their children. The focus will be on them playing and learning together. We don't want to take away from that, but we see the opportunity on working with the parents on other things. So the Family Nurture Support Team have already been undertaking the Outcome STAR framework training. And this is to help parents really focus on their holistic well-being. So through that training, they'll be equipped to support them to think about parenting things like routines and child development, but also about their own physical health and their child's physical health. So thinking about healthy eating and good sleep and other issues, looking at their home, their money, work opportunities, and helping them to link with other partners wherever that's relevant. Hope that answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Is there any further questions on this one? Any comments? Councillor Bell and then Councillor Devine.
This sounds fantastic. I'm very excited about it, and I can see your face, Neil, your grin is splitting your face there. I'm assuming we'll report on it on an annual basis, but it'd be good to get some informal feedback after maybe 6 to 8 months, something like that. But I just wish this had existed in my day. What an opportunity, and I really hope families pick this up with the enthusiasm that we've clearly got in terms of delivering it. So congratulations, I love it.
Councillor Devine.
Yeah, I think this is a wonderful initiative. I mean, when you see the number of parents and carers that are being supported already by the early years family nurture, there's obviously a real need for this and a demand for it, and you can expand out from that as to what is done. And for me particularly, I think it's really important that parents, carers learn with their children, especially in the language development area, because I think most teachers would say that that's an area where we're so needing that. Playing together is one of the best ways, of course, of developing language. So I really hope this goes well, and like Councillor Bell, I'm sure we'll hear updates on it. So it's just a great way of giving the children the best start in life that we all want. Thank you. I just wanted to say thank you for all the work that has gone into this, because I'm sure that it hasn't been an easy task, but it will be a great outcome.
Thank you. And Councillor Melville?
Yeah, thanks, Convener. Just to agree with the previous two speakers there, I think this is hugely positive and look forward to seeing how it develops.
Thank you. Is there? Oh, yeah. Did you want to come back in?
I was just appreciate the support across the chamber for that, and we are also making sure it aligns with the population health framework and our planning for our next children's services plan. So it's just about joining the dots around that and joining the dots around what we and how we best support children, young people and families in Angus, and that's really important to me. No, it's really important to Kelly, it's really important to everyone. So thank you all for your support of that.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think everyone's very excited to see this and looking forward to hearing the updates on it. So yeah, thank you. So on that note then, we have to note the recommendations which are noting the feedback which was gathered in relation to this proposal, and approve the addition of the twos together provision, and delegate authority to the Director of Education and Lifelong Learning to carry out the proposed changes to the Angus ELC delivery plan. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. So the last item on the agenda is item 8, which is the continuum of provision, the pre-consultation update, and Neil Loudon is going to introduce this one as well.
Thank you, Convener. Agenda item 8 gives members an update on the pre-consultation outcome of our continuum of provision across Angus. I would like to thank everyone who's taken their time to contribute to the pre-consultation, and we have analysed and responded to the feedback as detailed in Appendix 1. And thank you to members who allowed us some additional time to do that at the last Family, Education and Justice Committee. I believe it would be disingenuous of me to consult with stakeholders and then to completely ignore their views. However, having said that, it would also be inappropriate for me to place these views above the needs of children and young people with additional support needs, particularly children and young people with complex autism. And Convener, I do want to avoid a zero-sum game where a perceived gain by some can be seen as a perceived loss by others. Whether this is achievable or not remains to be seen, but I propose to create some breathing space to allow time to tease out possible solutions and/or mitigations. To this end, I'm asking members to note the outcome of this pre-consultation, agree that there is no further exploration of the identified schools at this time, and note that alternative solutions will continue to be investigated thoroughly. Convener, I would add that I'm very proud of how we meet the needs of our Angus children locally, and we've heard from head teachers today, again, about the rising need and how well we're meeting it, and external scrutiny supports that. But I am committed to exploring how we continue to upscale this and continue to do so in the best way for all our children and young people in Angus. Officers will be happy to take any questions that members have. Convener, thank you.
We have some questions, and Councillor Meakin first.
Thank you, Convener. Having heard, the report back on the pre-consultation, I wonder if you can comment on what information or reassurances do you think some parents, not some parents, may need when planning to expand the continuum of provision in Angus?
Through you, Convener, can I give that to Audrey? Is that okay?
Thank you, Councillor Meehan. Based on the comments that we got through the pre-consultation, it's clear that parents and carers need information about the proposal, but I think most importantly they want information about the impact on their child and their educational experience and their social experience at the school. So impact on current learners and assurances about what does that mean for staffing, what does that mean for resources at the school, the support that their children may be getting, the space, how will that be used, the social experience in the mix of children, their safety, and also their child's sense of belonging, what that means for the future of the school as well. Obviously, as a local authority, we have to make strategic decisions all the time based on all of Angus's children, but having reflected, maybe that's a big ask to ask others to take an altruistic view without considering the direct impact on or implications for their own children. So we need to be able to provide information which addresses their concerns that arise from any proposed change or expansion. But I would hope also to be able to make explicit the benefits, not only for the children who access the provision, but for the children who already attend the schools. We do know that with information we gain understanding, and where there's understanding there's less fear about the unknown, and with that hopefully grows greater tolerance, care, compassion and empathy, all in attributes we would want all Angus children and indeed Angus citizens to have in a diverse and inclusive society.
Thank you very much.
Councillor Bell.
Thank you, Convener. I was very excited when we discussed this paper the last time, or the potential for this, because it would involve having the potential to have Angus children in Angus schools where previously they'd been having to travel elsewhere. So I'm disappointed at the pause, I'll be honest. And I'm just wondering if we approve the recommendations today, what that means for times. Because as a corporate parent, I care really deeply that we are able to provide the best possible experience in schools for children with complex autism, which is, for me, what this is about. And recommendation 3 mentions the parameters delegated powers. That decision would be coming back to this committee. Just want some comfort around that as well. But yeah, the timescales for the next stage, if we approve the recommendations today, please. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Bell. In terms of where we are at the current time, I am recommending a pause so we can explore all options. In terms of delegated authority to the Director, I think we need to continue to enhance our specifically resourced schools. So we've heard from Langlands today, we have 9 specifically resourced schools in Angus. So it will be how we continue to resource them and perhaps add additionality into them with some of the additional support needs funding. So I wouldn't want to pause funding to specifically resource schools because of a pre-consultation or a consultation. But I suppose then, when we look at the bigger picture and we look at the funding overall, I've used the phrase "at this time," and that's at this point in time. I'm asking for officers to be able to go away and further assess what the options are for us. And I would be hoping to come back to, well, I will come back to Family Education and Justice in this calendar year with additional proposals, but that may well mean a more formal consultation on how we think our continuum of provision should look across Angus, and it will be up to members to make that decision. Councillor Bell.
And Councillor Speed.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I understand the need for a pause, because I think what really matters is getting this right. So I understand the need for the pause, but my question was going to be around the timeframes and reporting back, and just maybe a little bit more clarity without putting pressure on giving an exact kind of time frame as to what committee would be you would be reporting back. But you've said obviously this calendar year, but is that kind of this side of summer, or would you be thinking it would be going into towards autumn, winter?
Thank you, Councillor Speed. I think it would probably be the other side of the summer break. We would need to look at what a formal consultation would look like. Projections, etc., will continue to look at our specifically resourced schools. And I think I wouldn't want to commit to bringing something in June in terms of school time frame. End of May, I think Fedge is actually. I wouldn't want to commit to end of May when it's more likely to be August. I think we need to be realistic with the pause and the breathing space and the time before it comes back to members.
And for August then, yeah. If everybody else was supportive of that, I think that would can't put some sort of timeline on it. I think having August as the end is helpful.
Happy to give that commitment.
Yeah.
You're all in charge.
Obviously, if you could come back sooner, I'm sure we would all welcome it. But I think just not putting anything on it would, for me, would be uncomfortable. But I think as long as we can put August as the point that you'll come back, that would provide a bit of reassurance.
Happy to give the commitment. I'll come back in August, Councillor Speed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And moving on to comments now, Councillor Proctor.
Thank you very much, Convener. I fully support Mr Lown, and I'm glad to see we've got a commitment here, because getting it right for every child is the keystone to our education policies within Angus and indeed throughout the country. And I do feel that we owe it to these children who require specialist tuition through because they've got ASD or complex autism. And I think we've really got to look hard at this and continue with the process. I think the wider community as well should maybe be aware that having children with ASD or autism in a unit or within a school can actually bring quite a lot of benefit, not just for themselves, but to the wider school community and indeed to the locality as a whole. So I really do support this, and I'm glad to see, Mr Lown, you've given a commitment, and I would back that up 100%. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further? Councillor Gregg?
Thank you, Convener. I have to agree with many of the comments that have been said already in Chamber on this today. And it has been said, as we noted earlier when we were listening to the head teacher of Langland School saying that the number of ASN pupils does continue to increase year on year, and not just at our schools in Forfar but across Angus and across Scotland. It's quite right that we take a pause here on the recommendation of the Director of Education, Ms Loudon, to sort of look and think, well, how can we do this? How are we doing it? Which direction we go? Because, as others have said, it's the children that are the most important ones here, and for us to be able to deliver the education that they deserve, whatever their ability is, that is the key. I have to say I'm really disappointed reading some of the comments that came back through the consultation. One of my nephews, he's 5 years old and he is non-verbal autistic. So as you could probably imagine, trying to communicate the simplest things like would you like a drink is really difficult. So when he started school last year, his parents were really anxious about how he would then cope with going to school, because he'd been so used to just being at home with his sisters, playing with them, who understand him intimately, and they don't need that verbal communication because they have that relationship. So how would he cope going to school? And it turns out he absolutely loves it. I was showing Neil earlier, my brother had been sent on the Seesaw app for the school, a video of him at the swimming, and he absolutely adores it. So when I read comments like, become a dumping ground for difficult children, I really take utter objection to that. I mean, that's clearly come from someone who has got absolutely no idea of the challenges that parents and indeed our teachers face, and we are doing our utmost for both the parents and for those children as well. These are not difficult children, they just have a different learning need which we need to support, and it's right that we do that. So I look forward to hearing back in August, as Mr. Lyon is now committed, and to see where we go forward for this, and bearing in mind that the children are the most important ones in this.
Thank you, Councillor Gregg. And Councillor Speed?
Yeah, thank you. As I've said, I understand the need for the pause, and as I've said as well, it's important that we get it right. We've got that kind of commitment in terms of coming back in August. It would probably be good to see that just kind of highlighted, if possible, within the recommendations, just to say that that is when the report will be coming back. I'm not necessarily entirely kind of convinced around the options of the settings. I'm not against it, but I do think there is a lot to think through in terms of location, setting, the environment, transport, the logistics, all of those things that do need work through, and that has come through in the feedback as well. But I think, like Councillor Gregg, what concerns me even more is the kind of what's come through in the feedback in terms of the resistance towards people with an additional support need, towards our young, vulnerable children with a disability. You know, in many ways, society has moved on and there is much more acceptance and understanding, but this clearly shows that there is a way to go and that we do need to continue to challenge some of those kind of stereotypes, some of those attitudes towards people with an additional support need, because I'm sure all of us who know, like Councillor Gregg has experienced, you know, described in terms of his wee one within his family, and we could all describe in terms of people we know, they are an absolute joy, regardless of the complexities, regardless of, you know, whether they're verbal, non-verbal, regardless of how difficult it can sometimes be to support them in their world. We need to continue to do that and welcome them with open arms, and certainly not put down the shutters and say, not on my door, back door. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sweet. Did you want to come back in? Yeah.
I should just clarify before I get into trouble, I don't have the dates for committee yet in August, I don't think. So I'm just, if I say late summer, early autumn, that should cover the committee cycle. And in terms of, I know the recommendations do not say a report. I think what I'm committing to is the investigation of alternative solutions, and an update on that and where we are going to go and go forward in that in late summer, early autumn. Sorry, thank you.
Sorry, I was passed a note that the committee timetable isn't agreed yet for 26-27, so we don't actually have the date on it. But before we go into agreeing that, I just wanted to thank everyone for the discussion today. I think we've had some really, really important questions that have been raised, and really, really important discussion that's really focused on getting it right for every child in Angus. That has been really, really worthwhile to go through. So thank you everyone for that today. So on this last one, the recommendations are to note the outcome of the pre-consultation, agree that there will be no further exploration at this time of New Bigging Primary School or Tannadice Primary School as potential locations for extending the continuum of provision in Angus, and And if recommendation 2 is approved, notes the investigation of alternative solutions to meet projected additional support needs in Angus will continue within the parameters of the Director of Education and Lifelong Learning's delegated powers. And the additional one, that the further update report submitted to this committee in or around August, that when we get the timetable confirmed for 26-27. Is that agreed? Is that agreed? Thank you. So that concludes all the business for today. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Can I stop the live stream, please?